Welcome to another video of your morning workout talk with your one and only literary Pharaoh. Yes. On the way to work, driving to my slave ship, to my slave job, as thousands and millions of Americans are doing this morning on the road, headed to work. Headed to slavery, time theft, time stealing. Had a good workout this morning. As always, if I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to make sure that it's well worth my time. One thing I can't understand is when I go to the gym, I see people just literally on their cell phones. Like, they're not even working out. They're just sitting there. And I'm like, why did you even come to the gym this early just to sit on your phone? You could have just stayed at home for that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess to each its own. But you better believe if I'm going to get up and take the time to commute to a gym, I'm going to make sure that I maximize my time there. Make sure I get my money's worth. So yeah, did chest and triceps, did HIIT workout in the beginning. Yeah, it was pretty good. And they, I read on the recent developments with Hurricane Milton. Saw a headline saying that thousands are already fleeing Florida. Now they're getting out of there. So I really hope that this engineered hurricane by the hands of man isn't too destructive. I just think it's very strange how humanity, and you know what, I don't even want to blame it on humanity, because I don't. And this is where, some of the things that I say starts to lean on the side of being weird or tinfoil hat wearing or conspiracy theory stuff. I just want to say that I don't think human beings would do anything deliberately, intentionally, with premeditative intent, knowing what they're doing, to say, hey, we're gonna use weather as a weapon to destroy lands. But would they? I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe my hope in humanity is a little bit on the naive side. I know evil exists, and evil, absolute evil and subjective evil, are two different, concepts. Absolute evil does exist. It's where there's no justification for the evil. But then you do have certain evils that do exist, but you have to contextualize the evil. It depends on who is beholding the evil. So I'll give you an example. Let's say someone's starving and they're hungry and they need food, and they see an opportunity to get food without paying because they don't have the ends to do so, and the person steals. Technically, we've been taught that stealing is bad, stealing is evil. As a matter of fact, the Bible teaches you that stealing isn't good. But if you contextualize the theft, you would understand that the person was doing it not just for the thrill of stealing. There are some people who do that. They're kleptomaniacs. They can't help themselves. They just need to confiscate things and take things that aren't theirs. Not because they need it. It just feels good to take something that's not yours, and the person who you took it from doesn't have the knowledge that you took it from them. In that sense, it's evil. But if you're stealing because you have no other way to survive, then that wouldn't be considered absolute evil. It'll be subjective evil, because to the person, the store owner who you came in and stole the item from, it's evil in his eyes because he has a business to run. All right? You're making him lose revenue. However, the person that steals the food, in their eyes, they're not doing anything evil. They're doing something that's good, because to sustain your temple and to sustain your life is a noble act. To end yourself or delete yourself would be ignoble. That's not something that we deem to be virtuous. We don't give people applause who commit suicide. We don't do that. It's frowned upon. So, in a sense, I don't want to believe that people are intentionally using atmospheric temperatures and using all sorts of technology, nanoparticulates, nanoparticles, radio frequencies, radio wave transmissions. I don't want to believe that people are using those things for evil. I believe there are people who are using those things who have been taught that those things are supposed to be something that's beneficial for humanity. I think it's a mix-up. But as I said before, I truly believe that the foundation and the origin of all these systems that we believe to be truly beneficial for us or beneficial to us, I truly believe that the foundation of them are from an extraterrestrial premise. It starts there. I don't think human beings would knowingly do anything to destroy their habitat. If you look at any creature, insect, animal, or whatever it is, no animal, no insect, no other entity, no other living thing does destruction to its own habitat. So when you hear the term chemtrails or the scientific term geoengineering, and you know the impact of those practices, how harmful it is to all life forms on the planet, then you have to start to ask yourself, like, why would a person deliberately, knowingly destroy their own abode, like destroy their shelter, destroy their own home? Wouldn't that push you as a person to label them as being psychotic to any degree? You know, there are different levels of psychosis, but that's definitely on the spectrum of being psychotic if you're destroying where you live, because once that's destroyed, then you don't have anything. It's the same thing when a person is mentally ill and they're hearing voices and they want to commit suicide and end their lives or delete themselves. If you want to delete yourself, that's not something that's applauded or normal. In the same way that trying to destroy your own home, a home that you preside in, your address, your shelter, if you destroy where you live, then that says a lot. This is why I don't believe that human beings know. If they knew the impact of what they're doing to the planet, if they knew the impact of these weather companies, I call them weather companies, I call them geoengineering companies. I think they have OSHA, you have others. I don't know the names off the top of my head. I say that to say this, that I don't think that people knowingly just know that. Not everyone. There's some that do. And yes, those people are considered and could be considered absolutely evil. But where that comes from, when you have a disconnect from your own kind, you're a psychopath and a sociopath. And not only that, you're not human. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. This is why humanity, the humane aspect in all of us, has forced the hands of those who legislate certain laws to make sure that there are laws to protect children, women, and the elderly. Because if you took away the humane essence and the humane abstract from society, if you just took that away and you eliminated any concrete, practical things that humans do, if you just eliminated that, then you would have the abuse. I mean, it's still happening, but you would have it, the abuse of children and women and the elderly happen at a phenomenal rate that even in the world we live in today, we would not be able to stand it. There would be an all-out war because of that frequent evil that's being perpetrated against women, children, and the elderly. So because human beings as a collective, though we are all individuals, we are a community of sentient beings. But when we're all focused and operating on the same frequency, there's something that happens. Power occurs, and that power pushes forward to make sure that there's certain things that are in place. I'm a father. Before I was a father, before I had children, when I was younger, I didn't care for certain things. But now that I am a dad and I have children of my own, I tend to look at other children like they're children of my own. Not biologically, but there's those kids that I see, someone's their mother, someone's their father, and I'm sure their mother and father would want the best for their children. See, children in the world are the ultimate unifier of humanity. They are the cohesive glue that connects us all, that brings us back to a state of being humane. Because last time I checked, being human means that you're supposed to be humane. If you look at the term human, just take away the E, it's human. You add the E at the end, it's humane. There's a certain degree of civility that is brought upon when the presence of children are put into play, because it forces everybody to prioritize and put things in their proper perspective. The endeavor of selfishness is dwindled and diluted immensely, because no longer can you be too selfish, because now you have children that are dependent upon you. But you can also be a little bit selfish, but not too selfish, because you can't neglect the children. So there's an alien agenda. There's a group of people, there's a group of families that are disconnected from humans. There's some speculation that, and this is very, very, this is sort of eye-opening as well. And sort of revelatory when I heard it. In my research and the things that I've been listening to and the things that I've been reading, there's some people that believe that the enemy of the quote-unquote black race, and I hate using the term black race because we're not really black, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to use the term black. The saying is that the black race, our current disposition of always being viewed as second class, being viewed as a race of people needing handouts, being viewed as some sort of disability to the stream of human existence, because it's almost like we're going to give you guys a special month. We're going to have history called Black History Month. We're going to do this for black people, do that for black people. It's almost like we're being treated as if we are a charity case, and that in itself is insulting, because we're not. We have strong lineage of people who came from lineages of kings and queens and We have demigod genetics in our DNA. As a matter of fact, if you question any geneticist, any microbiologist who's an expert in their field, they will tell you that the melanated component of the black man, quote unquote black man, is far more potent than our counterparts, than our pale skin counterparts. And that means a lot. It means that we are more cosmologically advanced. We're more physically advanced. We're more alive than they are, than our counterparts. Our counterparts are very, in comparison, they're more narrow-minded. They see things as limited as they could see it. They see things in limitations, which is why they operate from the basis of fear, because they don't know how it is to be rich and have abundance. Because when the earth was made for you, black people, the earth was made for us, because the atmospheric levels of the planet works well in conjunction with our DNA. But when you have the manipulation of weather, it sort of tampers with that. So everything's been touched, everything's been tampered with, and things have been used incorrectly for nefarious purposes. So humans, I'm giving humans the benefit of the doubt. Anyone who's part of those systems that are responsible for the destruction of the human ecosystem and in the destruction of human life in itself, then I have to sort of question. I sort of have to question, like, who are you? Like, you can't be human. You can't be, not knowingly. If you don't know, then it's just because of ignorance. Okay. And I talked about that yesterday. You have doctors who operate with, passion. They really care about their profession. But you can be misled, and your practices could be illegal. It could be illegal practices, illegal protocols that are more of a detriment to your patients than they are harmless. They're more harmful. So weather is definitely modified, but who's in control? I believe that the controllers are not humans. Those 13 royal families that are readily discussed, that they have they have to have extraterrestrial links, connections. And the black race's enemy, a lot of people grew up, people would talk about how the white man's the devil, and we have to be very careful when we do that, because if the white man's the devil, then the question you have to ask yourself is, who created the white man? Because they are the latest on the scene based upon carbon dating and fossil records and the findings of explorers who've excavated areas that are more geographically sectioned in the area of the Caucasus Mountains, which would be around the area of Serbia. And they found that the European gene is about 6,000 years old. That's fairly young relative to how long this planet has been here. Relatively very, very young compared to how old the melanated gene is. The planet is carbon-based. We're carbon beings. It's as if our molecular structure by our creators, by those Anunnaki intelligent beings, they created us in a way that we could survive and flourish underneath these atmospheric conditions. Simultaneously insert in us the spark of their divinity. So this is why the two Enki and Enlil, if you follow the story of the ancient Sumerian tablets, you'll see that Enlil, the younger brother of Enki, was really upset at Enki, because he's like, what the hell have you done? Like, you're giving them knowledge. That's where the story, the biblical text, got its story from, about the devil deceiving Eve. There was no devil deceiving Eve. Enki is representing that quote-unquote devil. He didn't deceive Eve and Adam. He just gave them knowledge about themselves. And you guys have made yourself believe that knowledge is something that's evil. Because if God says that, but why would God even want to limit its creatures to his own creation? I want you to think about that for a second. Those trees that were in the garden, if you follow the psychology of your own book, which is why it's so full of so many damn contradictions, it doesn't even make any freaking sense. If this God you serve is the creator of the universe, if he put those trees, and let's just assume those trees are literal, which they're not, because the Bible is an allegorical text, and many of you guys don't see it that way. It's a book that's steeped in so many different subjects. It's an anatomical. It's a book on anatomy. It's a book that's deep with certain themes of sacred geometry. It's a book about metaphysics. It's a book about the human anatomy. It's a book about astronomy, astrology. It's a book that amalgamates all those concepts and puts it into one. It's a deeper book than you think. It's a puzzle book. It's a book that needs to be deciphered. It's not something that you just read and you just take it literal. But for the sake of this conversation, let's just say that those trees were literal trees. All right, to the layman, because remember, we're not supposed to lean to our own understandings, but yet we're supposed to just believe there's God. But then what understanding should we lean to? Because if we lean to our own understanding, and our own understanding is pushing us in a direction to pull away from the contradictory texts that people deem to worship, called the Bible, if it pulls us away from that, then all of a sudden, hey, you're thinking too much. You're leaning to your own understanding. However, if I lean into my own understanding, and my own understanding is putting me in a position to just believe and take it by faith and believe every word in the Bible, then it's okay. So then again, you have to ask yourself, why were we given brains in the first place if we're not supposed to use it? And even if you use your brain and your brain is an error, it's okay, because we only grow through mistakes. No one ever comes to a final decision when they try. It's trial and error. Life is trial and error. We live, we experience, we get up, and we get better. We live, we experience, we get knocked down, we get up, we do better, because we learn from our mistakes. That's the only way. But you can't tell people not to seek knowledge. So Enki gave Adam and Eve in the garden the truth about themselves. He said, hey man, you guys are not really animals. You guys are actually our kin. You are our cosmic kin. We created y'all in our image, actually. And to be honest with you guys, we put a little bit of stuff in y'all that's gonna make you guys surpass us one day. That's where you get in the Bible about the angels being jealous of humanity. But the Anunnaki beings, they were not angels. They were just entities from different planets. They came from other different star systems. And so these beings were so highly technologically advanced that they made us in a way where we would thrive on this planet. And carbon-based people of high melanin were on the planet. And when I say high melanin, I mean dark blue-black people. And if they weren't blue-black, if they were albino, let's say they had a deficiency in their melanocytes, they still had melanated features: wide nose, big lips, full lips, coarse hair. So the European gene is fairly young. So this Enki character gives so-called knowledge to Adam and Eve, and somehow the text is written that he's the Satan. No, in actuality, the Satan is the God of the Bible. He's the Satan of Eden. That's what they called it in the Sumerian text. That's where you get the Satan from. Satan, the adversary, is actually the God that Christians serve, because he was the Satan of Eden. He's the one that came in the garden asking Adam and Eve, what have you done? And again, you have to ask yourself, if this God's supposed to be all-knowing, why the hell are you asking them a question? If you were all-knowing, you would know what the hell they've done. Number two, if you created everything in the universe, why the hell would you even put trees in the garden and then tell them not to go eat from it? What was the purpose for the freaking tree in the garden in the first place? And this is before sin came into the world. So if everything was perfect, why would you have an imperfect tree there that would tempt them to go eat off of it? This is assuming that I'm taking it literal, but that's not it. You know, when you eat off of something, you take the knowledge of it. A tree is lineage. A tree denotes DNA. A tree denotes production, produce, because trees produce fruits. So there's a certain, when you eat off of a tree, you are taking in the contents of that tree. That tree is deeply rooted down into something that you cannot see. It has a strong root into something. So essentially what Enki was doing to Adam and Eve was enlightening them about everything, about their creation, about the galaxies, about the stars, about everything. The knowledge of good and evil, letting them know what's good and what's evil. Let them know you are good. You were created in our image. Okay, so those stories are manipulated by the Bible. The Bible literally just plagiarizes older texts. And the controllers have used the Bible to control people for many, many years. And that's why it's a complete paradox in the sense that people keep talking about the devil and evil, but unbeknownst to them, the book that talks about evil is given to you by the evil person or the evil entity or the evil enterprise that you vehemently despise. So you despise evil, you despise Satanism, but did you know that your book came from Satanism? Did you know that the King James version, King James was a pedophile, was a homosexual? Do you know that was his version of the Bible? You know that's why there's certain parts in there with David and his friend in the Old Testament doing a lot of sketchy things, kissing each other in excitement, seeing each other naked. And then when you guys read those portions of the text, you have some sort of self-proclaimed Bible scholars who try their best to insert their own personal commentary on certain sections. They'll say, hey, but back then, naked didn't mean this. Naked just means passion. Naked means that you were just being honest and open with your friend. Like, nah, man, the dude was naked. Like, I had best friends when I was younger. Like, that's child enough when people say best friend. I don't know. I grew out of that. Like, I don't have a best friend. That's just, I don't know. It's childish. But when I was younger and I had friends, whether they were my best friends or not, that's a moot point. But I had friends. We never just paraded around each other naked. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. I don't want to see their bodies like that. So, yeah. You have to understand that the terraforming of the planet, terraforming meaning that you tampered with the atmospheric levels, you've tampered with the geological structures in terms of their molecular structure and the components of what's on the land. So when you terraform a planet, you're transforming it or changing its atmospheric levels and its landforms. You're changing those things, and when you change atmospheric levels, you impact everything. So the planet has been terraformed many times, and our existence on this planet as Earthlings is primarily due to extraterrestrial involvement, extraterrestrial tampering. You say, how could you say that? Well, how could I not say that? You think that we just came out of this planet? No, this planet is a seed planet. This planet was never a home planet to anybody. This planet was a place where people would consistently come and go, take and steal resources. Seed planet means you can plant things here, watch it flourish, take advantage of it, and leave. This seed planet has been used millions and millions of times by extraterrestrial empires who are all part of the galactic Federation. That's where you get galactic law from, where an extraterrestrial of higher intelligence or of higher technological advancement, they don't have the right to manipulate you. They have to give you the truth. And it's us who willfully abide and go with the manipulation. We're not being manipulated. We just accept it. That's why these people, they have to give you and tell you what they're doing to you before they do it. But then you have other people who censor the information, like YouTube, they'll censor certain things. You have people who, not only do they censor certain things, but you also have people who would fight you over the information, meaning that they'll combat it, they'll debate it, and because there's a larger consensus on their side that goes with the popular rhetoric, then you become dismissed as a person that's not credible. Your credibility goes into the tank, and no one ever listens to you ever again. Because people love to follow the numbers. The larger following a person has, the more credible they're perceived to be. Whereas in my opinion, I don't believe it should be so. I believe it shouldn't matter who has the larger following. Just follow the logic. Follow what makes sense. Follow what makes sense. No other creature destroys their habitat. So why would humans destroy their own planet deliberately? No. The 13 royal families. That's where all this starts. Starts there. So going back to the black people, there's a saying that our brother, and I say our brother meaning that another melanated person who was an Anunnaki, devised a plan and created the white race to be the adversary of the black man on the planet. And you say, huh? Yeah. And there's also sayings that the Moors, European melanated people, are the harbingers, they are the possessors of most of the evil systems that we're under. But they use the pale-skinned man as a cover-up and as a face for their treachery. So in other words, the same thing, when you guys hear, why is another black man bringing another black man down? Well, that comes from somewhere. That's not something that was just produced out of the ether. And in this talking that I'm doing, you can also see that being very plausible and possible, because it's too easy to point the finger at the European and say it's their fault, but somebody created them. The Moors were very, very intelligent. They possessed a lot of esoteric knowledge. As a matter of fact, they're the ones that civilized Europe. So they civilized Europe. I'm sure their power and influence still reigns still today. And I don't think that our true enemy is ever seen. And that theory of mine is actually a theory that I would like to, put my heart on. Because I feel that has more merit than, the white man came on the scene and then he controlled everything. For the white man to come on the scene to gain power and control, that transformation of power had to have come from a race or a group of people who possessed that power, who rendered that knowledge to the European, giving that European the ability and the capacity to enslave other black races that did not fall underneath the label of being Moors. I know that's just a theory. I could be wrong, but in other words, our enemy is a black person, a black group of people that are in war, that are at war, and they're using they're using human beings as collateral, as chess pieces on the chessboard to fight their wars. Because these beings can't kill each other because they have the technological advancements to never die, to transform consciousness into different avatar bodies. So it's essentially useless to fight your brothers and sisters in regards to the Anunnaki people. So what they do, they take the people of the planet and use them as pieces for their motive. Yeah. So that's my spiel for today. Thank you guys for indulging me in another session of morning workout talk on Wednesday. And I hope you guys are having a good time. And I also want you guys to never forget that your health is your wealth. Never forget that. All right, peace. Leave a comment, tell me what you guys think. Bye.